Welcome back to Munchausen's Proxy. While I was away, I had access to Disney Plus, and so decided to put the time to good use and review the Guardians of the Galaxy's Christmas special. While the trailer I saw for the D23 Fan Expo did not fill me with an urgent desire to see it, I felt it was worth the 45 minutes to check it out. So this will be a spoiler review of the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special on Disney Plus. The special opens with an animated sequence that was less than thrilling with regards to the art style. It shows a young Peter Quill and Kraglin decorating a Christmas tree on the Reaver's ship, including presents under the tree. Yondu comes in and gets mad because he sees it as sentimentality, ordering the two of them to get rid of it all. He does not want to hear Peter's explanation that it is not so much sentimentality as a sign of appreciation. Yondu rages, destroying the tree and telling them to clean the mess up, yelling, "I hate Christmas!" The animation breaks, showing Kraglin telling the story to Nebula, Mantis, and Drax as they stand on a walkway, telling them that Christmas is coming up. Mantis and Drax stay on the second-story walkway overlooking the main strand of Nowhere. Mantis says the story was sad, but Drax found it absolutely hilarious. They watch Peter helping repair Nowhere from the damage that Thanos did during the Infinity War, with Rocket and the dog Cosmo helping, Cosmo using telekinesis to put panels in place on a wall. Cosmo drops the panels, saying she will not work anymore until she gets more treats. One of the aliens stops Peter, telling him they heard about this Christmas thing from Rocket, who heard it from Cosmo, who heard it from Kraglin, and they wrote a song about it using some Earth instruments. What follows is the opening credits with a song that probably was meant to be funny, but just ended up sounding like it was written by Scrooge McHollywood. The lyrics basically sound as if they were written by an atheist who wants to ruin Christmas for all the boys and girls. While they are singing, Peter keeps trying to tell the aliens that what they are singing isn't what Christmas is all about. As this goes on, we get one of the thankfully brief glimpses of Groot dancing in the background. And he looks terrible. Instead of a CGI Groot, we get some dude dressed up in what looks like a really bad foam costume, like you would see at Disney World or a baseball game mascot, which is probably why Groot is sparingly used in this special. Then we see Mantis and Drax watching the performance. She reveals that she is Peter's sister, half-sister obviously, and that she worries about Peter finding out because their father killed his mother. Drax knows and doesn't think it's nearly as big a deal as Mantis eating all of the nuts in the ship break room. She wants to do something special for Peter for Christmas to make up for Yondu ruining Christmas for Peter all those years ago. Drax suggests getting the legendary hero Peter always talks about, and who has saved countless lives, Kevin Bacon. They cut to Kevin Bacon getting out of his car with presents and getting a call from Kira. That would be Kira Sedgwick, his real-life wife, asking if he got everything for Christmas. He opens up the trunk full of more presents and assures her everything is ready for a perfect family Christmas when she and their children get back from New York. A ship carrying Mantis and Drax leaves Nowhere, bound for Earth. Drax forgets to put on the cloaking device when they get there, freaking out the humans as they fly overhead looking for Kevin Bacon's house. Both are under the mistaken impression that he is the leader of the humans, and they cackle with excitement. They land the cloaked ship on the hill overlooking the Hollywood sign and go looking for him amongst the weirdos of Hollywood, fitting right in with no one blinking an eye. Not even when Mantis sees someone dressed up like Captain America, and she jumps on him, screaming, "Stevie!" As a matter of fact, they wind up making quite a bit of money when people start handing them cash to have their picture taken with them. Come nightfall, the pair wind up wandering into a dance club, Mantis holding their money like a baby. Inside, they ask about Kevin Bacon while getting plastered. Mantis is lured out onto the dance floor, and Drax is hit on by a guy wanting him to dance. Drax responds that dancing is for pathetic people. They wind up hammered and sitting on the curb outside of the club, wondering how nobody in the club knew where Kevin Bacon lived. A woman overhears and offers a star map to them for $40. Mantis realizes that she has lost all of her money, and the woman goes to take the map back. Mantis grabs her arm and uses her power to make the woman give the map for free, along with all of her money. Kevin Bacon is sitting down with a sandwich to watch a sci-fi Christmas movie when the two show up at his gate. He tells them to go away when they ring the bell at the gate. When he stops answering the bell, Mantis asks Drax if he could throw her over the gate, which she promptly does before she is ready. He jumps over himself and she yells at him for tossing her without warning. As they walk up to the house, Drax becomes enamored with a lawn elf, and Mantis takes a liking to a candy cane, both of which get swiped on their way to the house. They ring the bell, and when Kevin Bacon sees them, he warns them he is calling the police. When they break in, a chase around the house ensues, complete with zany music. Bacon eventually makes it off of his property out onto the street, with Mantis and Drax seen keeping pace with him by jumping over fences and through yards. 4 police cars come to a screaming stop, and the police pull their guns on Mantis and Drax. One shoots Drax multiple times, tickling him and making him laugh hysterically. Mantis, meanwhile, kicks all of their asses. Another car shows up, and Drax flips it over. Mantis yells at him for almost killing the officers and gives them her candy cane to make them even, before they go looking for Kevin Bacon. They find him crawling under a chain-link fence, and he is about to bolt when Mantis touches him and uses her powers to make him want to come with them. Then they see a Christmas store across the street from them and raid it for everything. It looks like they stuffed the ship full of the entire store's inventory. On their way back to nowhere, they come to realize that Kevin Bacon is not a legendary hero, but an actor. Both Mantis and Drax think actors are repugnant, and Mantis tries to use her powers to make him act like a hero. He takes on the personas of movie heroes, and she makes him stop and act like himself, only a heroic version of himself to save Christmas, since actors are disgusting. Back on Nowhere, Peter is sulking in a bar when he sees Groot lurking in a window. He follows him and begins to hear Christmas music. The main thoroughfare is decorated with lights and Christmas decorations, and a snowmaker is making it snow as he walks down the street looking around in amazement. A spotlight shows Groot wheeling in a huge box, and as Peter gets closer, he realizes there is someone in the box. You can hear Kevin Bacon saying they need to get him out of there because there's no air. Peter quickly unwraps the box and then flips out when he sees it's Kevin Bacon. He realizes that the actor is still under Mantis's power, and he orders her to release him. Kevin flips out and runs. Nebula quickly volunteers to hunt him down and goes after him with Drax and Mantis. Kraglin then takes Bacon to a ship to get him back to Earth, and he explains what happened and why Drax and Mantis kidnapped him, telling him that Peter had a rough childhood and was a real hero who used to tell stories about Kevin Bacon to liven up his childhood. Kevin Bacon gets a call from Kira asking him if he's going to be home soon. He asks her if it would be alright if he was a little bit late, that he had some friends who needed to learn what Christmas is really about. He then sings a song about what Christmas really is with the aliens from the beginning of the movie. Groot is dancing along in the crowd, and seriously, he looks like that crap 80s Fantastic Four attempt at a movie's The Thing. Dreadful. While the song is playing, the Guardians give out presents to each other. Nebula gives Rocket Bucky's metal arm, Mantis gives Drax a big stuffed elf, and Groot gives dioramas of the major events of the special to each of the Guardians. Kraglin takes Kevin Bacon home after they all hug, and he promises to see them on Easter. Peter and Mantis are on the walkway, and he says he can't believe they did all of this for him. He asks why, and Mantis tells him the story that Kraglin told at the beginning. Peter smiles and says Kraglin doesn't know how that story ended. Another animation sequence ensues that shows that Yondu came across the garbage can later, seeing a present for him in it with the rest of the Christmas stuff he made them take down. He opens the box and inside is a figurine. Young Peter later goes to his bunk and finds a present there. 2 blasters. Mantis then reluctantly tells him that Ego was her father. He realizes that he has a sister and tells her that is the best Christmas present she could ever have given him. They hug and tell each other Merry Christmas. The last scene is also an animated one, showing Yondu placing his figurine on his dashboard when Peter comes in and smiles at him. Yondu smiles back and punches him in the shoulder, which Peter returns before the ship zooms away in a show of lights that spells out Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all. The end credit scene is Groot decorated like a Christmas tree by Rocket and Cosmo. When Groot lowers his arms and makes some of the decorations fall off, Rocket scolds him before looking at the camera and saying, "Now we gotta have another special." Before I get into the special, let me start by saying that I was probably not the ideal audience for this. I got the feeling as I watched it that it was aimed at younger kids. The plot was silly, the dialogue and interactions were cartoony, the action was ridiculous and tame. I guess what I'm saying is that this was very Disney Channel in quality, and therefore I was probably not the type of person they were aiming at. And that is probably the problem with Marvel and the MCU these days. Not that I individually am not being catered to or am the target audience, but that at the beginning of the MCU, the movies were made by people who were trying to get the characters and the feel of the movies right in relation to the material it was taken from. They were sharp, compelling, and snatched you up and dragged you off to the world of Tony Stark and Steve Rogers and Thor, and yes, Guardians of the Galaxy. Comic fans were over the moon that their favorite heroes looked the way they were supposed to. Unlike the good but flawed first 2 X-Men movies and some of the other superhero offerings we put up with over the years. As studios went chasing a quote-unquote new audience, they left behind their most fervent fans, the ones who faithfully plunked down money to watch what they loved from the comics come to life on the big screen, and then shouted to the world how good they were, guaranteeing free marketing for the IPs. While this seems to be a tangent, it is a related issue, I assure you. You see, Marvel has lost its way since the release of Endgame. The signs were there shortly prior to that movie, but the rot is evident with the droppings known as Phase 4 of the MCU. This Christmas special is the official end of that phase, and it is in line with the rest of the MCU Phase 4, except for the Sony-produced Spider-Man No Way Home, if with far less of the message crammed into every scene. The writing was juvenile and simplistic, but you could tell the actors were doing their best with what they were given. And it is perhaps that fact that makes me want to go easy on this special, where I would not do so were I to do a review of The Eternals, which I also recently saw, or the 5 minutes of She-Hulk I could stomach before turning that off. David Bautista and Pom Klementieff were charming in this special. They interacted well, but they are and have always been side characters. Chris Pratt soaked up the screen when he was there, making Peter Quill his own, as he always does. But he was rarely on screen. Karen Gillan was not quite what we have come to expect of Nebula. Whether that was because she was written that way or she was not really feeling this material is up for interpretation. Rocket was barely in the movie, and when he was, he also felt diminished by the material. And then there is Groot. I really don't know what else I can say about the abomination they had prancing around on set as the lovable self-ambulatory tree that I haven't already said. The costume department should all be ashamed of themselves. If this was the best that they could do with the money that they had, then they should have concocted a reason for Rocket and Groot to be absent. I almost forgot to say something about Kevin Bacon, and that might be because he was Kevin Bacon. Hard to be noticeable when you play yourself. But having said that, he was pretty good for what was required of him by the story. And while the overall story was charming and heartwarming, it was carried out with the same clownishness that Marvel has been overdosing on for a while. Everyone at Marvel needs to stop huffing the laughing gas and realize that you can make Marvel movies and shows with emotions other than nonstop humor that steps on every other sentiment the creators are trying to convey through the acting. Were I giving this Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special a rating, I guess it would probably be in the 5.5 to 6 range, which I regret because Guardians of the Galaxy is one of my favorite MCU properties. I think if I were about 10 or 12, my response would probably be a little more receptive. Oh, and if I did not despise bad music, the opening credit song was dreadful. And of course, there was Groot. The less said about that, the better. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you like what I do here, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure the bell icon is clicked on so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. Share the video and leave a comment or constructive criticism below to help out with Mama Susan's algorithm. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Tschüss.